And once you see this, once you truly see it, you can never unsee it again. You begin to notice how often people confuse movement with progress, noise with momentum, urgency with importance. You see how the world rewards those who appear busy, while quietly elevating those who are precise. You notice how exhaustion has become a badge of honor, even though exhaustion is often the byproduct of unfocused effort and emotional leakage. Most people are not tired because they are doing too much. They are tired because they are doing too many things that don't matter, driven by fear rather than intention. Fear of falling behind, fear of being irrelevant, fear of missing out. And fear is expensive. Fear drains attention. Fear fractures focus. Fear creates financial decisions that feel urgent in the moment but hollow in the long run. Money responds to clarity, not panic. It follows those who move with calm deliberation, not those who grasp at it with desperation. This is why two people can earn the same amount and live completely different lives. One feels trapped, constantly anxious, always needing more. The other feels grounded, patient, unhurried. The difference is not income, it is relationship. Your relationship with money mirrors your relationship with yourself. If you don't trust yourself, you won't trust money. If you don't respect your time, money will pass through your hands without leaving anything behind. If you seek validation externally, money will become another emotional crutch. Never enough, never satisfying. This is where people misunderstand wealth creation in the modern world. They think it is about learning the right platform, the right strategy, the right trend. But platforms change, strategies expire, trends burn out. The only thing that compounds across decades is identity. The person you become determines the outcomes you can sustain. Online income has made this more visible than ever. The internet does not reward who you claim to be. It rewards what you repeatedly do. You can hide insecurity in a job. You can hide inconsistency in a salary. But online, results are exposed. Either you show up or you disappear. Either you build trust or you fade into noise. And this exposure is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your habits, your discipline, your ability to sit with boredom without escaping, your ability to work without immediate reward, your ability to stay focused when no one is watching. This is why so many people quit quietly. Not because it was impossible, but because it required them to face themselves without distraction. The uncomfortable truth is that most people do not fail because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They fail because they lack emotional regulation. They cannot tolerate slow progress. They cannot endure uncertainty. They cannot resist impulse long enough for compounding to take effect. But compounding is unforgiving in both directions. Small disciplines repeated daily grow into massive leverage. Small neglects repeated daily grow into invisible ceilings that cap your life. Every time you choose distraction over focus, you reinforce a pattern. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you deepen a groove. And one day, without realizing it, you wake up inside a life shaped by choices you barely remember making. This is why awareness matters more than motivation. Motivation fades. Awareness stays. Awareness allows you to see your impulses before they control you. It creates space between desire and action. And in that space, power is born. Power is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is not performative. Power is the ability to choose deliberately, especially when emotions are pulling you in another direction. Financial power begins here. When you stop reacting, you start designing. When you stop chasing, you start building. When you stop comparing, you start compounding. And compounding is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush. It simply accumulates day after day, decision after decision. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. In fact, trying to do so is often another form of avoidance. What you need is to become precise, to identify the few behaviors that actually move the needle and eliminate the rest without guilt. This is hard because the world will pressure you to do more, consume more, respond more. But mastery is subtraction. It is the removal of excess. It is the discipline to say no to things that feel good but lead nowhere. The wealthiest mindset is not one of accumulation, but of filtration. What deserves my attention? What deserves my energy? What deserves my time? Everything else is noise, no matter how appealing it looks. As you refine this, something subtle changes. Your days feel calmer. Your thoughts become less scattered. You begin to trust yourself more, not because life is perfect, but because you are consistent. And consistency builds self-respect. Self-respect is the true foundation of confidence. Not hype, not bravado. Quiet respect for your own word. When you say you will do something, you do it. When you commit, you follow through. Over time, this rewires how you see yourself. And when you see yourself as reliable, you begin to act like someone who can be trusted with responsibility, with opportunity, with money. This is not mystical. It is practical. Money flows toward systems and people that reduce risk. Discipline reduces risk. Emotional control reduces risk. Consistency reduces risk. This is why disciplined people tend to attract better opportunities without chasing them. They are stable, predictable, grounded. They don't overreact. They don't panic. They don't burn bridges. They don't gamble their future on impulses. Instead, they build slowly. They allow time to do its work. They understand that wealth is less about intensity and more about endurance. Endurance is rare. Endurance requires you to stay when novelty fades, to continue when excitement disappears, to trust processes that don't reward you immediately, but those who endure eventually separate from the crowd, not dramatically, quietly. One day, they look around and realize their life feels different, less rushed, less fragile, more intentional. Income becomes steadier. Choices expand. Pressure eases. Not because they escaped effort, but because effort became aligned. This is the kind of life that doesn't look impressive from the outside at first, but it feels solid on the inside. And solidity is the precursor to freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want, whenever you want. That is chaos, disguised as liberation. True freedom is the ability to choose wisely without internal conflict, to act without being pulled apart by impulse. And this freedom is built in silence, repetition, and restraint. Most people will never choose it, because it requires giving up the fantasy of shortcuts. It requires patience in a world addicted to immediacy. It requires discipline in a culture that celebrates indulgence. But if you are listening to this, and something inside you feels steady rather than excited, grounded rather than hyped, that is a good sign. That means you are not looking for escape. You are looking for alignment, and alignment changes everything. Alignment is not a dramatic moment. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or applause. It arrives quietly, almost invisibly, in the way your mornings begin to feel different, in the way your reactions slow down, in the way you stop explaining yourself to people who don't need to understand. It shows up when you no longer need urgency to feel important, when you no longer confuse pressure with purpose. You start to feel a strange calm where anxiety used to live. Not because everything is solved, but because you are no longer at war with yourself. And that internal ceasefire is more valuable than any sudden financial breakthrough. Most people underestimate how exhausting it is to constantly betray their own intentions, to promise discipline and then abandon it, to say they want growth and then avoid discomfort, to claim they want freedom while choosing habits that guarantee dependence. That internal contradiction drains more energy than hard work ever could. When you stop lying to yourself, energy returns. You realize that you don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to chase every opportunity. You don't need to prove your ambition through visible struggle. Real builders move differently. They choose fewer battles. They repeat fewer actions. They allow boredom to exist without trying to escape it. Boredom is where most people fail, but boredom is also where mastery is forged. Because boredom strips away novelty and leaves only commitment. It asks a simple question. Will you still show up when nothing exciting is happening? Will you still act when no one is watching? When no one is praising you? When the reward feels distant and abstract? This is where income is decided long before money appears. Online earning, investing, building leverage. These are not tests of intelligence. They are tests of temperament. Can you remain steady when results fluctuate? Can you continue when growth is slow? Can you resist the urge to abandon something just because it hasn't validated you yet? The people who succeed long-term are not emotionally attached to outcomes. They are attached to standards. They define what a good day looks like based on actions taken, not results received. They measure progress internally before it shows up externally. This detachment is misunderstood. It is not apathy, it is maturity. You still care, you still aim high, but you no longer let temporary outcomes dictate your sense of worth or direction. You understand that most meaningful things in life operate on a delayed return system, and you stop demanding immediate proof that your effort is working. This is where patience stops being passive and becomes powerful. Patience is not waiting. Patience is acting without emotional demand. It is continuing without resentment. It is trusting the logic of compounding even when your emotions are impatient. Money respects this posture. When you stop needing money to validate you, you begin to make better decisions with it. You don't overspend to impress. You don't underinvest out of fear. You don't cling to it or worship it. You allocate it. You deploy it. You let it work. This is the shift from survival to strategy. Survival thinking is loud. It is reactive. It is short-term. Strategy is quiet. It is measured. It is long-term. Survival asks, how do I feel right now? Strategy asks, what does this build over time? Most people stay trapped in survival mode because they never slow down enough to exit it. They confuse movement with progress, activity with effectiveness. They stay busy because stillness would force them to confront their own inconsistency. But once you allow yourself to slow down, something important happens. You begin to see patterns. You notice what drains you and what strengthens you. You recognize which habits quietly sabotage you and which ones quietly support you. And then you start choosing differently. Not all at once, not perfectly, but deliberately. You reduce noise. You simplify inputs. You stop consuming content that excites you without grounding you. You become selective about what you allow into your mind. And as your mental environment stabilizes, your financial environment begins to follow. Because clarity creates leverage. Leverage is not just financial, it is psychological. When your mind is clear, each decision carries more weight. Each action is more intentional. Each hour produces more. Value. You stop scattering yourself across too many directions and start building depth instead of breadth. Depth compounds. A single skill refined deeply outperforms 10 skills practiced shallowly. A single focused project outperforms constant restarts. A single disciplined routine outperforms bursts of motivation. This is uncomfortable at first because it feels slow. But slow is not the same as stagnant. Slow is often precise. Slow allows for correction. Slow allows for learning. Slow builds foundations that don't collapse under pressure, and pressure will come. Markets shift. Algorithms change. Opportunities rise and fall. If your sense of stability is tied to external conditions, you will always feel on edge. But if your stability is internal, rooted in habits, discipline, and self-trust, you remain centered regardless of circumstances. This is the kind of person money feels safe around. Not because they are perfect, but because they are grounded. Grounded. People don't panic, sell. They don't chase hype. They don't abandon plans at the first sign of difficulty. They adapt without abandoning their core principles. They respond instead of react. And response is where power lives. As you move deeper into this way of living, something subtle but profound occurs. Your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to become disciplined and start seeing yourself as someone who simply is. You stop seeing focus as a struggle and start seeing distraction as optional. This identity shift changes everything, because now discipline is no longer an act of force. It is an expression of who you are. And when discipline becomes identity-based, it stops requiring constant effort. It becomes automatic. This is how people build wealth without burning out. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. They design their days to support their values. They remove friction from good habits and add friction to bad ones. They make the right choice, the easy choice. This is not rigid. It is intelligent, and intelligence compounds faster than intensity ever will. You begin to understand that success is less about pushing harder and more about aligning better, about placing yourself in environments, internal and external, that naturally pull you toward growth. And once you feel this alignment, you no longer envy other people's success. You no longer rush your own timeline. You respect the process because you understand it. You understand that everything worthwhile moves slowly at first. And that understanding gives you an advantage most people will never develop. Most people spend their lives fighting the process instead of learning how to work with it. They want the reward without the refinement, the outcome without the transformation, the income without the internal restructuring that income demands. And because of that resistance, even when opportunity shows up, they are not ready to hold it. It slips through their hands, not because they are unlucky, but because they are misaligned. Alignment is not comfort. It is coherence. It is when your actions, values, and long-term vision stop contradicting each other. When you no longer live one way while hoping for a future built on different principles. When you stop saying you want freedom but organize your life around convenience. When you stop saying you want abundance but keep reinforcing scarcity through impulse, avoidance, and emotional spending. Scarcity is not just a lack of money. It is a lack of trust, a lack of patience, a lack of inner order. You can feel scarcity in the way someone rushes, in the way they check their phone compulsively, in the way they panic when things slow down. Scarcity is loud. It is restless. It constantly seeks reassurance, and reassurance is a never-ending expense. Abundance, on the other hand, is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need to be seen. It does not need constant proof. Abundance is the confidence that comes from knowing you can endure uncertainty without collapsing. This is why wealth is a psychological state before it is a financial one. When you develop the ability to sit with uncertainty calmly, you gain leverage over your life. You stop making decisions just to relieve anxiety. You stop chasing short-term relief at the expense of long-term stability. You allow things to unfold according to logic, not emotion. Emotion is not the enemy. Unexamined emotion is. When you begin to observe your emotions instead of obeying them, something powerful happens. You create distance between stimulus and response. And in that distance, you gain choice. Choice is the foundation of freedom. Financial freedom is not the absence of work. It is the presence of choice. The choice to say no. The choice to wait. The choice to invest. The choice to walk away from situations that compromise your values. But choice only exists when you have prepared for it. When you have lived below your means. When you have resisted lifestyle inflation. When you have prioritized stability over appearance. When you have made decisions based on future clarity instead of present pressure. This kind of preparation is invisible to most people. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't generate applause. But it generates resilience. And resilience outlasts trends, markets, and circumstances. The modern world teaches you to chase visibility. But visibility without foundation is fragile. It collapses under stress. It turns small setbacks into existential crises. Foundation, on the other hand, absorbs shock. It allows you to bend without breaking. It gives you room to adjust, to learn, to continue. This is why disciplined people appear calm even when things are uncertain. They are not immune to stress. They are buffered by preparation. Preparation is built through small, consistent decisions that most people overlook. Choosing rest over burnout. Choosing learning over entertainment. Choosing restraint over indulgence. Choosing long-term benefit over short-term pleasure. None of these choices feel dramatic in the moment, but together they shape a life that feels stable, intentional, and free. You begin to notice that your confidence no longer spikes and crashes with results. It becomes steady, grounded, independent of external validation. You trust yourself because you have evidence, you have shown up, you have endured, you have followed through. This trust is priceless. It allows you to move through life without constant self-doubt. It allows you to make decisions without second-guessing yourself endlessly. It allows you to commit fully, because you know you won't abandon yourself when things get uncomfortable, and when you stop abandoning yourself, you stop leaking energy. Energy is the real currency. Money follows energy that is focused, regulated, and intentional. It avoids chaos. It avoids instability. It avoids environments where it is misused or squandered. This is why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly. It's not magic. It's coherence. Their inner world is organized, so their outer world responds accordingly. As this coherence deepens, you start to see money differently. It stops feeling like a measure of your worth. It becomes a measure of value exchanged, neutral, functional, useful. You stop fearing it. You stop worshiping it. You stop resenting it. You respect it. And respect creates balance. Balance allows you to earn without obsession, save without deprivation, spend without guilt, and invest without fear. Balance allows money to become a support system rather than a source of tension. This is the state most people never reach, not because it is inaccessible, but because it requires patience in a world addicted to speed. Speed feels productive, but it often hides fragility. Slowness feels inefficient, but it often builds strength. When you slow down enough to build correctly, You move faster in the long run. You avoid unnecessary mistakes. You reduce emotional volatility. You make decisions that compound instead of conflict. This is how people quietly surpass those who are constantly rushing. Not by doing more, by doing what matters, consistently. And once you experience this, once you feel what it's like to live, without constant internal friction, you realize that this was never just about money. Money was simply the lens that revealed everything else. It revealed your relationship with time, with discipline, with patience, with self-trust. And now that you see it, you are no longer at the mercy of old patterns. You are no longer unconscious. You are no longer reacting blindly. You are becoming deliberate, and deliberateness is the beginning of mastery. Deliberateness requires you to pay attention to your own rhythms, to observe your impulses without judgment, to notice the tension between desire and discipline, and to decide which side serves your future. Most people never see this tension. They react. They chase the impulse. They chase the next distraction, the next reward, the next validation. And in doing so, they train themselves to serve chaos instead of authority. Authority over yourself is not granted. It is claimed. Every decision to act intentionally, every refusal to indulge unnecessary impulse, every repetition of small, correct habits, these are the acts by which sovereignty is earned. You cannot delegate it. You cannot outsource it. You cannot purchase it. It is forged in the crucible of your daily choices, and once forged, it becomes invisible power. A quiet but unshakable force that governs how money, opportunity, and influence interact with you. People see the results, but they never see the work behind them. They only notice the calm, the steadiness, the seeming ease. But the truth is, ease is the outcome of inner mastery, not external luck. You will notice that once you begin to govern yourself, the world begins to respond differently. Opportunities appear not because you are lucky, but because your focus and discipline create environments where value can naturally flow toward you. People instinctively trust those who are consistent, reliable, and composed. The digital systems we navigate, algorithms, networks, platforms, amplify this effect. Consistency and reliability compound faster than hype and randomness ever could. Your attention, once stabilized, becomes a tool for creation instead of consumption. Every hour you dedicate to skill, to habit, to learning, multiplies over time. Every hour spent reacting to noise, feeding fear, indulging distraction, diminishes your capacity. The difference between a life of reaction and a life of deliberate growth is entirely measurable in how you spend your attention. Most people underestimate this. They chase external rewards as though they were the point, failing to see that the point is the internal cultivation of focus, resilience, and self-trust. They try to shortcut patience with knowledge, or shortcut consistency with excitement. But excitement fades, and knowledge without application is meaningless. Only the disciplined accumulation of aligned action produces results that last. Notice how your desire for immediate results can feel urgent, almost painful. That urgency is not external, it is internal. It is a product of distraction, comparison, and unexamined fear. If you can sit with that feeling, acknowledge it, and then act in alignment despite it, you are already ahead of most people. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, you are strengthening your capacity to navigate life and finance with authority. Online income and modern wealth creation magnify this test. The internet never rewards drama, panic, or inconsistency. It rewards execution, leverage, and trustworthiness. Your systems must be designed to continue even when you are tired, bored, or doubting. Your attention must remain loyal to your long-term goals, not the noise of temporary trends or the lure of immediate gratification. And so, the path to freedom is paradoxical. You must slow down, focus, and endure. You must tolerate delay, repetition, and invisibility. You must choose alignment over excitement, growth over validation. It is in this quiet, repetitive work that compounding occurs. It is in this space that mastery is formed. At first, this feels invisible, frustrating, even pointless. But slowly, imperceptibly, change accumulates. Your reactions become measured. Your decisions become clearer. Your inner dialogue becomes steadier. You begin to inhabit a version of yourself that others cannot disturb easily. You begin to act as someone who is capable of sustaining wealth, opportunity, and influence without being carried away by impulses or noise. This is not a motivational trick. It is a philosophical truth. The external world, money, recognition, digital success, follows the internal world. Order inside leads to leverage outside. Patience inside leads to abundance outside. Trust inside leads to opportunity outside. And this is the key insight that most people miss. They chase what is external, hoping to find it outside themselves. The truth is that no strategy, no hack, no algorithm can replace the internal work of patience, discipline, and identity-based mastery. Those who understand this, who internalize it, who act upon it daily, become unstoppable. Every step of self-discipline compounds. Every habit aligned with your goals multiplies. Every moment of resisting distraction strengthens the architecture of your future life. Money, freedom, and influence will reflect this architecture, not because you have desired it, but because you have become someone worthy of it. Your attention, patience, and consistency are more valuable than any tactic, more profitable than any trend, more reliable than any opportunity. And once you truly grasp this, you stop reacting, you start designing, and life begins to respond in ways you cannot fully anticipate. Listen carefully. The truth you must carry is simple, yet profound. Wealth is never about the money itself. It is about who you become in the pursuit of it. It is about the discipline you cultivate, the patience you practice, the focus you maintain, and the identity you build quietly, away from the applause and the distractions. Money follows the person who is calm when the world is chaotic, deliberate, when the world is impulsive, and consistent when the world is distracted. It follows the one who understands that income is a reflection of alignment, not desperation, that financial freedom is born from internal authority, and that opportunity gravitates toward those who can endure uncertainty without panic. Your habits, your attention, your choices. These are the architecture of your financial life. Every small act of discipline compounds. Every refusal to indulge a fleeting impulse strengthens your capacity to hold, to grow, to endure. Every day you act deliberately. You invest in your future self in a way that no external shortcut can ever match. Understand this. Your money will never teach you patience. Your bank balance will never demand self-control. The systems you build, online, the investments you make, the opportunities you seize, all of these are silent reflections of the internal mastery you have earned. And mastery is not granted. It is claimed day after day, decision after decision. It is quiet, often invisible work. It is repetition when excitement fades. It is focus when the world screams for your attention. It is patience when results are delayed. It is calm in uncertainty. It is trust in your process, even when fear whispers otherwise. If you take only one thing from this moment, let it be this. Your financial life is a mirror of your self-mastery. Build the person first, and the money, opportunity, and freedom will follow naturally. Do not chase income. Do not chase trends. Do not chase validation. Chase alignment. Chase discipline. Chase consistency. Chase identity. And when you do this, truly commit to this philosophy, you will find that money no longer controls you. Opportunity no longer escapes you. Stress no longer dictates your decisions. You will operate from a place of authority, calm, and intentionality. You will not need luck, hype, or shortcuts. You will have what most people never attain. A life designed to compound quietly and powerfully in every dimension: financial, mental, and emotional. The world may remain chaotic, unpredictable, and impatient, but you will have become someone who thrives regardless. You will have claimed the rarest form of wealth, internal sovereignty, and from that place, every external reward will be an echo of the work you have already done within. This is your challenge, your opportunity, your invitation. Become the person money can trust, and the rest will follow.